I want you to grab your wallet right now. Or, just picture if it's in the other room. Pop it open.
Yeah, just take a quick mental inventory of what's in there.
Right. Having one or maybe two credit cards in there, I mean, that is the standard playbook, right? You've got your daily driver for groceries, maybe a backup card for emergencies, and that's pretty much it.
Totally. That's what most people are comfortable with.
But what about carrying 6 cards or
Ugh.
8? Or what if you had 12 different credit cards, all active, all at the exact same time, and you were doing it completely on purpose?
I mean, for the vast majority of people, just looking at 12 different due dates is enough to induce a panic attack. It immediately sounds like a financial disaster in progress.
Totally. It sounds like someone who's completely lost control.
Hmm.
But today we are taking a deep dive into some really fascinating source material by Troy Johnston. He's the founder of StackEasy.ai.
Right, and he wrote this great article titled Six Best Apps for Managing Multiple Credit Cards 2026.
Exactly. And our mission here is to explore this entirely parallel financial strategy called credit stacking. We're going to break down the mechanics of how this actually works for anyone interested in personal finance, and we're going to reveal a really uncomfortable truth.
Yeah, this is the wild part.
Right. The most popular, universally beloved money apps sitting on your phone right now are actually architected to actively sabotage this exact strategy.
They really are. Because, it requires a total paradigm shift in how you view credit. When we hear multiple credit cards, society has basically conditioned us to assume that person is drowning in consumer debt.
Like they're just borrowing to survive, right?
Exactly. But credit stacking is the exact inverse of that. It's the highly calculated use of multiple cards to secure business funding or optimize rewards and just aggressively leverage 0% APR promotional periods.
You are essentially using the bank's money to generate your own yield.
Precisely. It's a completely different ballgame.
Okay, let's unpack this before we go any further, because Johnston paints this picture in the article of a true credit stacker's portfolio. And, I mean, it sounds insane on paper.
Oh, it really does.
Imagine you're a user with 9 different credit cards. Your total available credit limit is $87,000.
Which is a massive number for most people to even wrap their heads around.
Right. And 3 of those cards are floating balances on 0% APR promos. But the catch is, they expire at completely different times over the next 14 months.
Talk about a scheduling nightmare.
Exactly. And on top of that, 2 other cards have rotating quarterly bonuses. So what earns you 5% cash back today, well, it earns you absolutely nothing next month.
Right, you have to constantly be paying attention.
And if that wasn't enough, you're on a ticking clock to hit a $4,000 minimum spend in exactly 87 days just to unlock a massive sign-up bonus.
Yeah, that is a lot of moving parts.
It's so many moving parts. My first thought is, doesn't having $87,000 in credit limits across 9 cards absolutely tank your credit score?
Well, actually, that is the most common misconception. It actually does the opposite, provided you manage the utilization correctly.
Wait, really? It helps your score?
Yeah. A massive total credit limit lowers your overall credit utilization percentage. That is, assuming your actual spending remains relatively stable.
Oh, because the ratio of what you owe versus what you have available is super low.
Exactly. The banks look at that and see a borrower who has access to an enormous amount of capital, but possesses the discipline not to blow it. That builds a remarkably strong credit profile.
That makes total sense when you put it like that.
But you're right to point out the sheer complexity of that scenario. You aren't just swiping plastic at the gas station anymore. You are managing a volatile portfolio of financial instruments.
Right.
Every single card has a highly specific role, a strict timeline, and just unforgiving rules.
It's like standard finance apps treat your credit cards like a leaky pipe. Their entire job is to help you plug the leak as fast as possible to stop the water from flowing out.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks. But a credit stacker views those same cards as this intricate, high-pressure plumbing system.
Yeah.
They aren't trying to plug the pipes. They are deliberately routing the water, the money, exactly where it creates the most pressure and value.
Yes, exactly. It's about flow, not just stopping leaks.
So, if I have a $10,000 emergency expense and I put it on a 0% APR card for 18 months, I can leave my actual $10,000 in a high-yield savings account earning 5%.
Right. You let your money work for you.
Yeah. I'm literally making the bank pay me interest on the money I owe them.
Precisely. You're capturing the spread. And that mechanism right there gets to the core friction Johnston highlights in the article.
The app problem.
Right. Generic budgeting apps fail these power users because they are fundamentally built for people who are trying to fix that leaky pipe. They are designed to restrict cash flow and stop overspending.
Which is great if you need it.
Oh, absolutely. If you struggle with impulse control, those tools are absolute lifesavers. But that is a completely different universe from strategic leverage.
So they just don't mix.
Not at all. When you plug a highly optimized, intentional credit stacking strategy into a mainstream budgeting app, the app's internal logic basically short circuits.
Which makes sense when you look at the apps themselves. Let's look at how the heavyweights handle this. Take Mint, for example.
Oh, yes.
I know Mint was shut down in early 2024 and users got pushed over to Credit Karma, but for over a decade, Mint was the undisputed king of the bird's eye view.
It really was the default for so many people.
Everyone used it to see all their accounts in one place, so why couldn't a stacker just use that to keep an eye on their 9 cards?
Because of that exact underlying philosophy we just talked about. Mint was phenomenal at aggregating data, pulling in your checking, your savings, your auto loan.
Right, it had everything on one screen.
But for a credit stacker, its logic was actively counterproductive. Mint's default programming treated all credit card balances as immediate hair-on-fire liabilities.
Oh, right, because it hates debt.
Exactly. Let's go back to your arbitrage example. You have $10,000 sitting on a 0% APR card and $10,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account. You are executing a perfect financial strategy.
A masterclass in leverage.
But Mint couldn't see the strategy. It just aggregated your cards into one terrifying giant red credit card debt alert and told you your financial health was failing until you paid it off.
It's like the app is actively gaslighting you about your own strategy.
It totally was.
And Johnston actually points out this hilarious contradiction where Mint would blow up your phone with a push notification because you went $3 over your coffee budget for the month.
I remember those alerts.
But it would sit there, completely silent, while your 15-month 0% APR promotional window was closing in 2 weeks. It cared intensely about a $3 latte, but ignored the expiration date that was about to trigger hundreds of dollars in deferred interest charges.
It's wild, right? It shows how deeply an app's core philosophy dictates what features get built.
Right, it wasn't an accident.
Exactly. Mint didn't just forget to track 0% APR windows. Its developers simply didn't care to track them because the app's fundamental belief was that you shouldn't be carrying credit card debt in the first place, promotional rate or not.
Okay, so Mint was just an aggregator, and it hated debt. But what if you use a real hardcore budgeting tool? Johnston brings up why it's easy. You need a budget.
Yes, a very different beast.
Now, I have to push back here because people treat why now like a religion. It has changed thousands of lives. Are we really saying this beloved tool, which costs like $99 a year, is actually bad?
What's fascinating here is that we aren't saying it's bad at all, and Johnston is very careful to clarify that. YNAV's zero-based budgeting methodology is brilliant.
Right, the whole give every dollar a job thing.
Exactly. The rule is you give every single dollar a specific job before you spend it. If you want to get your spending under control, it's arguably the gold standard.
So where does it go wrong for a stacker?
The friction comes from the fact that YNAB is philosophically opposed to the very concept of the float. The entire software architecture assumes you should only spend the cash you currently possess in your checking account today.
So it fundamentally rejects the idea of leveraging a balance, even from holding the cash, to back it up in another account.
Exactly. YNAB's envelope system completely breaks down when you introduce a strategic 0% APR balance.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, balance transfers confuse its category system. It views that floating balance as an emergency that must be zeroed out immediately. The software simply lacks the vocabulary to say, this balance is intentional and optimized.
So if you are a stacker paying nearly $100 a year for YNAB, you are essentially paying a premium for software that fights your overarching financial strategy every time you log in.
That is exactly what happens.
It's like hiring a marathon coach to spot you on the bench press. The coach isn't a bad coach, but they're going to yell at you for getting too bulky when your entire goal is to build muscle. The tool doesn't match the goal.
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay, but what about Credit Karma? Because they absorbed all those Mint users, and they offer free credit score monitoring. If I'm opening 9 cards, my credit score is my most important asset. Surely Credit Karma is the tool for a stacker.
Well, it is useful for one highly specific function, pulling your score right before you hit submit on a new card application. You need to know exactly where you stand.
Right, you don't want any surprises there.
But as a daily management tool, no. You have to remember how Credit Karma monetizes its platform. They aren't a budgeting tool. They are a massive affiliate marketing platform.
Right, their entire business model is getting paid a commission when you click their link to apply for a new credit card.
Precisely. So when you log in and see a personalized recommendation, you aren't seeing a strategic suggestion tailored to your portfolio. You are seeing a paid placement.
So it's basically just a billboard.
Yeah. The platform isn't tracking your promo rates. It isn't tracking which of your current cards gives you 5% back on groceries this quarter.
It's just trying to sell you something.
Right. It's just looking at your 750 credit score and saying, hey, you have great credit. You should apply for this new travel card right now. For a stacker who is already managing a delicate ecosystem of open accounts, that isn't just unhelpful, it's actively distracting noise.
So if the mainstream apps either yell at you for having a balance or just try to sell you more plastic,
Yeah.
where do serious credit stackers actually go to manage this mess?
You'd be surprised.
Well, Johnson says something like 80% of them end up going completely old school. They boot up a spreadsheet, Google Sheets, Excel, Notion databases.
Yes, the classic spreadsheet trap.
And honestly, if you've ever tried building a color-coded Excel sheet for your finances, you know exactly how great it feels on day one. You feel like a genius. But how long does that actually last before it becomes completely useless?
Usually about 3 weeks.
Wow, only 3 weeks.
Yeah, because spreadsheets are seductive. They are infinitely customizable. You can build the exact dashboard you want, but they harbor one massive fatal flaw when it comes to time-sensitive financial instruments.
Which is?
They are entirely passive. A spreadsheet only knows what you manually type into it, and it only warns you about a problem when you actively open the file and look at the right cell.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because trying to manage a dozen cards with varying interest rates and expiration dates on a static spreadsheet is like trying to fly a jumbo jet by staring at a paper map instead of your dashboard instruments.
That's entirely accurate.
It feels highly organized and precise right up until the moment you forget to look out the window and fly straight into the side of a mountain.
And the mountain in this space is a missed deadline, and let me tell you, the crash is incredibly expensive.
I can imagine.
Johnston actually shares a painfully relatable cautionary tale from his own experience. He had built this beautiful, intricate spreadsheet system, ran it flawlessly for 2 years.
Okay, 2 years is a good run.
But because a spreadsheet doesn't push notifications to your phone, he simply forgot to update a promotional expiration date during a particularly busy month.
Oh, man. What was the fallout from that one mistake?
He missed the expiration date on a $6,200 balance transfer.
Ouch.
Yeah. The promotional window snapped shut, the standard interest rate kicked in, and before he even noticed the error on his next statement, he had accrued 3 months of interest at 24.99%.
Oh, wow. That is brutal.
It really is. That single manual oversight cost him more in penalties than he would have ever paid for a lifetime subscription to a purpose-built management app.
Your 0% APR silently converts into a wealth-destroying penalty rate, and your spreadsheet is just sitting happily on your hard drive, completely oblivious.
Right, it doesn't care.
But hold on. If we look beyond just tracking interest rates, there are structural rules to opening this many cards, right? If Johnston is opening a new card every few months to chase these bonuses, aren't the banks going to flag him as a risk? Like, how fast can you actually do this before they just cut you off?
That is where we get into a concept called application velocity, which is arguably the most critical metric a stacker needs to track. Banks are hypersensitive to how rapidly you are seeking new credit.
So they're constantly watching.
Oh, absolutely. If you don't know exactly how many accounts you've opened across all banks within the last 24 months, you are basically flying blind. This is where unwritten industry rules come into play.
Like the Chase 524 rule he mentions in the article. How does that actually work mechanically? Because it sounds like an absolute trapdoor.
It is a trapdoor if you don't track it. Chase has a strictly enforced, albeit unwritten rule known as 524.
Okay, break that down for us.
The mechanism is simple. If their system sees that you have opened 5 or more personal credit cards from any bank, not just Chase within the preceding 24 months, their algorithm will automatically deny your application for a new Chase card. Period.
Wait, really? No exceptions?
None. It does not matter. If you make $500,000 a year and have an 820 credit score, you are auto-declined.
That's crazy.
So a passive spreadsheet won't tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you're currently at 424. If you open that retail store card today to save 10%, you are locking yourself out of the entire Chase Reward ecosystem for the next year.
Wow, so you literally have to track the exact open dates of every single card across your entire history just to know your eligibility.
Yes.
And speaking of hidden banking rules, he brings up another massive issue, utilization dates. Now, we all know you need to keep your credit utilization low to maintain a good FICO score. But Johnston says the actual trap is the timing of the reporting, right?
Oh, this is perhaps the most misunderstood mechanism in consumer credit. Most people assume that as long as they pay their bill in full on the due date, the bank reports a zero balance to the credit bureaus.
Right, because you paid it off.
But that is not how the plumbing works. Banks do not report your balance on your due date. They take a snapshot of your account and report your balance on your statement closing date.
Which is different from the due date.
Very different. The closing date typically occurs about 3 weeks before your payment is actually due.
Wait, so if I run $3,000 through my card this month for normal expenses, and I plan to pay every single cent of it on the due date so I never pay interest, the credit bureaus still see me carrying a $3,000 balance.
Yes. If that $3,000 was sitting on the account the day the statement closed, that is the exact number that gets sent to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
That is mind-blowing.
Right. Your utilization spikes and your credit score drops even though you are a perfectly responsible borrower who never pays a dime in interest.
So how do you avoid that?
A true stacker knows they have to pay down the balance before the statement closing date, not the due date, to keep their reported utilization artificially low.
But trying to track a dozen overlapping closing dates across different banks in a spreadsheet, I mean, that is a logistical nightmare.
It really is. It sounds like a full-time job.
So if the mainstream apps fight you, and spreadsheets are a passive trap waiting to cost you money, what does a purpose-built tool actually look like? Johnston eventually built his own platform, StackEasy, to solve this exact problem. What is the blueprint he lays out? Like, what separates a true management dashboard from a basic tracker?
He lays out 4 absolute non-negotiables.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first is deadline awareness. As we saw with his $6,200 mistake, passive tracking is utterly useless.
Right, you need something that taps you on the shoulder.
Exactly. The system must have proactive alerts. It needs to know exactly when every 0% APR window is closing and actively push notifications to your phone 60, 30, and 14 days out. You need a runway.
Yeah, finding out your promotional rate expires tomorrow doesn't give you enough time to liquidate an asset or initiate a balance transfer to cover it.
Exactly. You need time to maneuver the funds.
What's the second non-negotiable?
Per Card Intelligence. Mainstream apps mesh all your debt into one giant pie chart. Right, better. Well, a stacker's dashboard has to treat every single card as an individual, distinct instrument.
Okay, so it has to zoom in.
Yeah. It needs to map the specific APR terms, track the rotating 5% cashback categories for that specific quarter, and monitor annual fee dates so you can decide whether to downgrade the card before you get charged.
Which flows perfectly into the third requirement, decision support versus data. This is such a crucial distinction in any kind of management.
It really is the game changer.
Because data is just looking at a screen and seeing that card A has a $3,200 balance. Okay, cool. That's a raw fact. But decision support is the app actively telling you, hey, card A's 0% APR expires in 45 days, but card B just loaded a new open 15-month balance transfer offer.
Exactly. The app is connecting the dots for you.
It's the difference between a weatherman telling you it's raining and someone actually handing you an umbrella before you walk out the door.
That synthesis of information is where the real value lies. And honestly, none of that matters without the fourth non-negotiable.
Which is?
Low maintenance. Because if you have to sit down every Sunday night and manually type in your balances, you are going to abandon the system by week 3.
Oh, 100%.
It has to pull the data automatically, but it has to do it securely. Johnston emphasizes the need for bank-level encryption and safe read-only access using connection services like Plaid, for example.
Right, so the app can read it, but can't touch it.
The app needs to read the data to analyze it, but it should never have the ability to actually move your money.
Though he also notes that manual entry is still a required feature, right? Because sometimes you're using a highly specific card from, like, a local credit union that simply refuses to sync with third-party apps. You still need a way to track it.
Oh, yeah. You definitely need that fallback.
And it's fascinating because the article briefly mentions Dovely as well, which is another tool in this specialized ecosystem that focuses purely on active credit profile monitoring. It's built to catch reporting errors before they basically nuke your applications.
Right, it's a whole ecosystem.
It just proves there's this entire parallel universe of sophisticated financial tools operating just out of sight of the mainstream consumer.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the real takeaway here isn't that you have to choose between budgeting apps and stacking dashboards.
Right, it's not one or the other.
It isn't a war between YM and StackEasy. The smartest approach is usually a hybrid one. You can use YNAB or a similar tool to strictly manage your cash flow, ensuring you actually have the money to back up your spending.
That makes sense.
But then you use a specialized dashboard to manage the complex, high-leverage financial instruments of your credit stack. It is simply about matching the right tool to the specific job.
It's like trying to use a sledgehammer to perform open heart surgery. I mean, the hammer isn't broken. It's a fantastic tool if you need to drive a stake into the ground. But it wasn't built for the delicate, highly precise procedure you're trying to execute. You can't blame the hammer for ruining the surgery. You blame the surgeon for picking up the wrong instrument.
Exactly. You need a scalpel.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Whether you have 2 cards in your wallet right now or you're methodically building your way up to 20, understanding the hidden mechanics of the game is what gives you leverage.
It's all about knowledge.
Knowing that your statement closing date dictates your credit score, not your due date. Knowing exactly when your promotional window slams shut.
Yeah.
Recognizing your application velocity.
Yeah, those are the keys.
That knowledge fundamentally takes you out of the passenger seat and puts you squarely behind the wheel of your own financial momentum.
It really does.
Wow.
And it raises a vital question. And it's the thought I want to leave you with today.
Let's hear it.
We've just broken down how managing 15 or more credit cards can actually be optimized to build incredible financial leverage without taking on a single cent of crushing interest, simply by having the right visibility and the correct tools.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself, how much unseen financial power are everyday consumers leaving on the table simply because their default everyday apps are literally designed to hide that leverage from them?
Wow. It makes you look at the plastic in your pocket in a completely different light. Keep those closing dates on your radar and keep digging beneath the surface.